Bald Eagle Days 2016 kicks off today. We're live this morning at the QCCA Expo Center in Rock Island with a look at what to expect at this year's show. And with two White House hopefuls in Davenport today, our current president is outlining the candidates he will and will not support.
WHBF is local for you. This is Local 4 News this morning.
Good morning and thanks for watching Local 4 News this morning. I'm Emily Scarlett. Chris will be on later tonight. Anthony, of course, everyone wanting to know just how much snow will we see this weekend, but there's also something to look out for this morning. Yeah, this morning we're dealing with the dense fog across the area, so take it easy out there. But now let's talk about the snow coming in tomorrow. Since we've been telling you about the snow all week long, the models have been getting a better grasp on it, and it's been pulling the storm more off to the east and southeast. If that happens, you see these snowfall amounts, that 1 to 2 inches in the Quad Cities, we're going to have to pull that off to the east. So right now I'm forecasting 2 to 4 inches from around Dixon to Princeton down to Galesburg. But the latest computer models just coming out right now showing the storm even more to the south and east, which means even Galesburg, Kewanee, and Princeton may see the lower end of that 2 to 4 inches, and we may escape with just a little bit of snow here in the Quad Cities. So for right now, until we get more grasp on these models, we'll say an inch or so in the Quad Cities and along eastern Iowa, 2 to 4 off to the east. But the bigger story will be the slick roads, the winds coming in, and the colder temperatures. Emily? Thank you, Anthony. It's one of the biggest events in the Quad Cities. Bald Eagle Days 2016 is flying into the QCCA Expo Center today and all weekend long. That's where we'll find Local 4's Alice Kang. She's live in Rock Island and has a sneak peek of what you might see at the big event. Good morning, Alice.
Well, Emily, the Eagles have landed here at the QCCA Expo Center. Now we're joined by Kelsey McCord and Oliver here. Tell us a little bit about Oliver.
Well, Oliver's an eastern screech owl, so they're actually a fairly common owl in the Midwest, even though you won't usually see them. If you look at him, he's got superb camouflage. He looks just like bark, his feathers do here. So what he'll do is he'll stand up right up against that tree, pull himself real skinny so that you don't see him. But you'll sometimes hear them. They don't really make a hoot sound like most owls do. They kind of have a high-pitched whinny. So if you hear a high-pitched horse in the area, but you know none of your neighbors have horses, it might be a screech owl. Oliver here is a gray morph. They actually come in 2 different color morphs. They have the gray morph like Oliver here, and they also have the red morph, which is a nice, beautiful orange. And then if you look at Oliver, you can see he's got these little feather tufts on his head.
He's a little camera shy right now.
He is a little camera shy. There's a lot going on, and he's got to check it all out. But those feather tufts there, they kind of show mood. So they're not really ears. They're just there, kind of like our eyebrows. They can, if they're sticking straight up, it might show that he's surprised about something. But usually if they're sticking straight up, he's very alert. And if he's really alert, pulls himself real skinny, becomes half the bird that he currently is. But then whenever he's relaxed, they'll be down. And so right now, the fact that they're fairly down right now, he's pretty relaxed. He's still checking everything out. He knows what's going on. But he's pretty relaxed, the fact that they're not sticking straight up.
And when you took him out of the cage, I said, "Oh my God, that bird is, or the owl is so cute." But he's actually pretty. You should watch out for them if you see them.
Yeah, out of all the birds that we brought with us today, Oliver's probably the most ferocious. Screech owls are known for their ferocity because while he is a predator, because of his size, he has to worry about being prey as well. So he has to be able to defend himself. These guys are actually known for taking out adult mallard ducks, which are a good at least 4 times bigger than he is, and they're known for taking those guys out. So he has no problem defending himself. He's got a sharp beak just like any bird of prey, and he's got very sharp talons and a strong grip.
All right, well, so thank you so much, Kelsey and Oliver, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, Emily, Local 4 News is doing a ticket giveaway, so if you would like your chance to win 4 free tickets to meet Oliver, McGuire, all the Eagles here, just head to our WHBF Facebook page and comment on our hot topic. Emily, back to you in the studio.
All right, careful with those ferocious birds out there, Alice. Thanks for that. 2 presidential hopefuls are planning to be in our area on this Friday. Candidates from both sides of the aisle are making stops in Davenport today. Martin O'Malley's visit is part of his final grassroots push before caucus night. The O'Malley Unplugged tour will stop at UFCW Local 431 at 5:15 tonight. And Rand Paul is celebrating his 53rd birthday at the River Music Experience at 8 tonight in Davenport. It's part of his 2-day swing through the Hawkeye State. All presidential candidates have now officially registered for the Illinois primary. The deadline to file was 5 o'clock Wednesday. The candidates also filed petitions for delegates to support them at this summer's national conventions. In Illinois, voters participate in a presidential preference poll in which they cast a largely symbolic vote for the candidate of their choice. Primary voters also elect delegates to the national convention who've pledged their support to each particular candidate. Days after President Obama announced executive actions aimed at reducing gun violence, the president took his pitch on the road. He participated in a town hall meeting at George Mason University and argued his reasoning for the increased restrictions. Karen Caifa has the latest on last night's town hall.
The way it is described is that we're trying to take away everybody's guns.
In his first town hall event in 2016, the president debated the Second Amendment and the gun violence gripping the nation. He stood in front of supporters, critics, and some familiar faces, including Gabby Giffords, the former representative who was shot 5 years ago, and her husband, retired astronaut Mark Kelly.
Gabby and I are both gun owners. We take gun ownership very seriously.
The president says he never owned a gun and has little experience with firearms, but says his stance on guns helped manufacturers.
I've been now president for over 7 years, and gun sales don't seem to have suffered during that time.
If anything, actually, you've helped.
They've gone up. I've been very good for gun manufacturers.
He says his policies make sense, but have been overly politicized.
Our position is consistently mischaracterized.
His current position, expanding background checks for gun buyers and narrowing the so-called gun show loophole that leaves most small and private sellers exempt from keeping formal sales records. Not everyone agrees.
The thing is that the laws that we create don't stop these horrific things from happening.
A CNN ORC poll found that a majority of the public supports the measures that President Obama outlined earlier this week, but less than half of Americans believe they would actually limit gun violence. In Fairfax, Virginia, I'm Karen Caifa.
And President Obama is giving new clues into which candidate he'll support in the general election. The commander-in-chief says he won't back any candidate who does not support common sense gun reform. Now checking in with meteorologist Anthony Peoples on this Friday morning. Drivers will have to take it easy as they head out this morning.
Yeah, a lot of people probably have been focused on the snow coming in tomorrow afternoon, but we have our own problems out there early this morning that you can see behind me.
Yeah, you can see that very clearly. There's nothing wrong with our sky cam. That's just the heavy fog we're seeing this morning, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually having to zoom down onto the streets just so where we can see the lights, because typically as we look across the Mississippi River toward Davenport, we see all the lights of the city, but you can't even see that because visibilities are reduced this morning to less than a mile in many locations. It's a mild start to the day. Actually, this temperature right now, if it didn't change all day today, we're already 8 degrees above the average high temperature this time of the year. Typically, we start out in the teens in January. Right now, we're at 39 in Moline, 36 the current temperature in Davenport, and here are those visibilities. Officially at the Quad City International Airport, visibility at 3 miles, but you can see that it's less right along the Mississippi River. Clinton at 1/4 of a mile to 1/3 of a mile, same for Galena. Iowa City down to 1/4 of a mile. So do take it easy out there this morning. We had the light rain to move through the area, and where the clouds are trying to break open and the rain has stopped, the air is pretty saturated, and that's why we have the fog across the area. So as kids head off to school this morning, we'll see temperatures right around 40 degrees, and this afternoon we'll see a high temperature make it up to 43 degrees with light rain. But Emily, we've been talking a lot about what's coming in here for tomorrow. Snow will develop. The heaviest of the snow tomorrow will be east of the Quad Cities, where they may pick up around 2 to 4 inches. We may pick up an inch or so here along the Mississippi River in the metro area. But the bigger story about the snow coming in, because, you know, for the Midwest, an inch or two of snow, 3 inches, not a big deal. It causes driving problems. You need to slow down. But we're going to have a lot of wind blowing that snow around, and much colder weather comes in by Sunday. So I think that's the bigger story, the snow and the transition into the colder weather.
All right, but still some mild temperatures before we get into that.
Yeah, today right around 43, a pretty nice day to melt away the last of the slush or try to melt away some of that ice before the new snow comes in.
Exactly. Thanks, Anthony. All right, well, we're marking Law Enforcement Appreciation Day tomorrow. This morning, our live guest has more on how you can give thanks to our local officers.
The time now is 6:12. You're watching Local 4 News this morning.
WHBF is local for you. with Chris Langlois, Emily Scarlett, and meteorologist Anthony Peoples. This is Local 4 News this morning in high definition.